And then, do you think this Fiat Uno could even run down a Mercedes?
No,
No, probably not, right?
absolutely. A Fiat Uno. Have you seen a Fiat? It's one
It's
of
like
the.
the Fiat 500 over here.
It's the smallest piece of shit, dude. And this is maybe I'm biased because we you and I both have worked in automotive for most of our lives, so we know these cars. It's a slow piece of shit.
Welcome to the Conspiracy Kitchen.
What's going on, guys? Thank you for joining us in the Conspiracy Kitchen, where we attempt to find the secret ingredients behind life's daily mysteries. I'm Joe, and I'm joined by my sous chef to my right, who's Joshua.
Hello.
And today, I think we're going to do a little something for our UK listeners. They give us a lot of love, and so we're going to give them something back. I think we're going to do the Princess Diana death or murder, whichever way you want to see it, and see how you guys feel about if she was killed or murdered. Apparently, still about a third of UK residents think something more happened. So I guess we're going to dive in and see what the different conspiracies are, what the different theories are, and see what's credible and what makes no sense at all.
So it was 1997.
Yes, 97. She's in the Hotel Ritz. They decide to leave, whatever, her boyfriend at the time, Dodi Fayed, the Egyptian Muslim, billionaire son, her, and then she is driven by Henry Paul. And right off the bat, well, we'll get into that later. So the official story is they leave the Hotel Ritz in a black Mercedes S280, heading for the Pont de Ilmal tunnel, and they're being chased by paparazzi for whatever reason. They're fucking high-speed pursuit, I guess. And the car smashes into a pillar. And Henry dies, Diana dies, Dodi dies. Only the bodyguard, Trevor, survives. Now, they're trying to say that Henry was just drunk as a skunk, blitzed out of his mind, 3 times the driving limit, and going way too fast, doing 60 in a 30, and hit the thing, and they just died. No one had seatbelts on except for the bodyguard who survived, and boom, case closed. That's it. We're done.
Wait, how many people were in the car? We had the driver, we had her boyfriend. It was just the 3 of them, right?
So apparently there's 4.
4, okay.
There's Diana, Dodi, Fayed, Trevor, Reese Jones, the bodyguard, and Henry Paul, the driver, who was the head of security for the Ritz.
Wait, why was the head of security driving?
Yeah, that's where it just, right off the bat, goes off the rails for me. So you got the Ritz, which I'm sure they have chauffeurs, and I'm sure the royal family has chauffeurs that would drive them around. I'm assuming. Why would you let the head of security, why would he even want to do this? Henry Paul drive the princess anywhere to begin with.
I mean, I can understand where it's like, oh, it's an honor to drive the princess, but like, why just the random head of security when you said like the royal family, they're gonna have chauffeurs? Like, wouldn't they have their own person? Like,
that's what I would think. I would think you would have. I didn't even think you would let anyone from the Ritz Hotel do it. I thought this is more like, U.S. Secret Service. Like, we're not going to let some hotel drive the president around here, or the vice president, or anyone with Secret Service detail. They would have Secret Service drive them. They have their drivers, and they have, their guards, bodyguards. You got the close ones that are bullet sponges. You got farther away ones that watch rooftops and stuff, counter sniper teams and stuff. And you don't just fucking let some random guy, oh, he's the head of security at the Ritz, it's fine, just let him drive. That's not how we do it here, and I'm assuming they would do it different there, or not just have this guy drive him. That's, to me, that's, again, I guess looking from outside the UK, how we handle things, this doesn't make sense to me right off the bat.
That would be like Donald Trump being chauffeured by a Disney World shuttle. Doesn't
That's what I'm saying.
make any sense.
It doesn't make any sense. So off the bat, I'm not convinced. This is nonsense. You're not, yeah, like you were saying, you're not gonna have he's gonna go to Disneyland and some guy shuttle bus guy is gonna bring Donald Trump around. It makes no sense right off
It's
the bat.
okay. We're safe. We're in the Disney World bubble. Nothing's going to happen.
Yeah. So you got him, but then on top of it, this guy's supposed to be drunk out of his mind, right? But then you see security cameras at the hotel, which were all messed up that night anyway. I mean, for whatever reason, but there's still it shows he doesn't look intoxicated. He's moving around fine. He bends over and ties a shoe. Like someone this drunk 3 times the limit, you would think they'd go to bend over and tie their shoe and they'd fall on their head.
That's what I do.
That's
Did.
that's what you've done. That's what I feel like I I would probably do. But this guy looked fine, completely fine.
You mentioned the security cameras,
Yeah, apparently they were glitchy that night on top of it, so they couldn't really get full.
which people will say, "Oh, there's a conspiracy right there. The cameras. Why were they glitchy? It's awfully convenient, isn't it?" But I mean, hotels, even like a 5-star hotel, it's still shitty. Like the cameras are never good in a hotel.
No, you're right.
Watch any murder mystery on TV, and it's like there he is checking in the hotel. It could be our killer or anyone else. Like you can't tell who it is.
Yeah, exactly. And then, you're gonna run from paparazzi. Like I feel like, again, you know probably have some kind of protection detail or even a bodyguard. You're gonna try to drive 65 miles per hour in a 30-mile-per-hour zone. I know this is for the UK guys, but I seriously I cannot do kilometers per hour. We're sticking with the 65 and a 30, and a white Fiat Uno.
The car that notoriously goes 6 miles an hour. Come on.
I guess could keep up with you. But wouldn't you just say no, get the hell out of here, or some kind of detail would just intercept that car and not have to have these people fucking in a high speed pursuit through a tunnel?
Yeah, it's it's paparazzi. It's not anyone trained or it's just an asshole with a camera. So if you're a member of the royal family and you have this incredible protection, like they could stop paparazzi. It's not hard.
Yeah, that's what I thought. At least here, unless they do something different, please let us know. If you guys over in the UK do something different or do things differently, and you're high up people of status or in the government don't get good protection, just let me know. Because over here, this would never have even started.
No, we hear stories every day of celebrity bodyguards murdering people and still getting off scot-free, so it happens.
And then, do you think this Fiat Uno could even run down a Mercedes?
No.
No, probably not. Right?
Absolutely. A Fiat Uno. Have you seen a Fiat? It's one
It's
of
like the Fiat 500 over here.
It's the smallest piece of shit. Dude, and this is maybe I'm biased because we you and I both have worked in automotive for most of our lives, so we know these cars. It's a slow piece of shit. It's not catching a Mercedes. I'm sorry. It's just not.
Well, what happens if some of our UK listeners have one of these Fiats?
Get
Sell it?
a different car.
Okay.
Sorry. I'll die on this hill. I don't care.
Now they're saying what eyewitnesses have seen the Fiat apparently swipe it or something, hit the freaking Mercedes. There's paint marks on the Mercedes that match the Fiat, but the Fiat disappears, just gone. Right, this thing just into the twilight zone. Where'd this fucking thing go?
What color did they say the Fiat was? White?
White. It was a white Fiat,
And
she's driving that black S280.
And this, if I'm not mistaken, this happened in like the middle of the day.
Yeah.
You don't lose a bright white Fiat Uno in the middle of the day.
You're saying it's not? It's going to outrun? It can't outrun law enforcement. It can't outrun any helicopter or something.
No. Look, if OJ couldn't do it in the Bronco, this guy couldn't do it in the Fiat. You know what I mean? Both bright white, no one could outrun that. But it's slow. I don't mean to shit talk Fiat for 9 hours, but it's a slow car to begin with. And then if you sideswipe something and you damage your vehicle, you're going to go slower.
Yeah,
So where did it
probably.
go?
Who knows? Who we'll get in? Maybe we can get into that later. Maybe we did find it or something similar vehicle. So, I mean, Diana was, I guess, the UK's rebel princess, right?
Oh, people loved her.
The people loved her, but I don't know if the establishment, the government, really got on board everything she was doing at this point, right?
No, because she was the type of person, she was the type of royal who was more of the people, so to speak. Like she was very relatable from what I've read. And she didn't look down on anybody. So yeah, people fucking love Princess Diana.
Yeah, she was a big advocate. She went and helped HIV and AIDS patients earlier on to try to break that stigma about that basically if you have it, you're dead. And if anyone goes near you, you're dead. She had those times where she'd sit on beds next to them, hold hands with AIDS patients, hug them, just to kind of break that stigma down. And a lot of people admired her for this stuff.
Dude, back then when, you know, you see her on TV like hugging an AIDS patient, like that blew people's minds. Because they're like, oh, maybe it isn't all that bad. Well, it's bad, but it's maybe not going to kill you if you look at an AIDS patient. Like,
Yeah,
she treated people with like dignity, which was rare.
yeah, you have to get AIDS through body fluid swappage, but I guess back then, and not even saliva, but I guess back then they just thought because of how rapid people died, like they didn't know what it really was, and people were dying from it. You didn't want to touch anyone, and it gave it bad stigma. And yeah, she had that, and then she was also a big anti-landmine person, right? She would big protests against landmines.
I heard that and I read it. It was very random when I heard that because I had no idea about that. But
Yeah, and it makes sense. She doesn't want this because they consider, it could go against like how would you want to put war? I mean,
more
you have
inhumane.
yeah, you have like rules of engagement, rules of war, and then you have it at landmine, so you don't see it. You step on, you get it doesn't might not kill you, but you're worse than death, legs gone and stuff. So she's against this. She doesn't want landmines and stuff like that. So that was another thing that we could talk about later about who would want her to shut up about this. And on top, dating Dodi, he's an Egyptian Muslim. It doesn't seem to fit well with, the royal family. Being her son's stepfather could be an Egyptian Muslim at this time. Because they didn't, it's not quote unquote royal, I guess, back then to be this way. It's not Buckingham Palace material, if you will.
I've seen Buckingham Palace. It's a shithole.
Whoa, whoa.
What?
Maybe it's is it a boring shape too?
It is a boring shape. Add a tower. Be impressive.
And on top of all that, right, she's rumored she's pregnant with this guy's kid. I mean, all that together is just like a really just bad time for the royals if this all gets out.
Huge scandal.
Huge. They don't want any of this. But then they go and they get her body, they do the autopsy, and they say there's no baby. No, there's no baby. She wasn't pregnant. Do you think that's true? I mean, who else would have seen it, besides the people doing the autopsy? Could they lie about that?
Being that it, included someone from the royal family, someone who would arguably, like a family that would arguably have more pull than any other family on earth, yeah, like they could hide something like that pretty easily.
I feel like they would just say, no, she's not, even though she is, just so that it didn't get out that she was pregnant with this guy's kid. I feel like they could just say nope, there was nothing there, just nonsense. Yeah, Dodie's father was just grieving and was fantasizing that he was gonna have a grandkid here and just made it up on the spot, or was just misinformed because there is no kid.
Sorry, I should mention something real quick. I didn't mean to talk shit on Buckingham Palace. All I really know about it is the videos on TikTok of people being bitten by the horse outside of there. That's all I know. You ever see those? Those videos are great.
You're gonna run. You're gonna roll back and no longer say Buckingham Palace is quote unquote, what was it, shithole?
Well, I'm wrong. I've never been there personally, but those videos are great, man. They go to take a picture next to the guard on the horse, and they get a little too close, and the horse just bites the shit out of them. Fucking great. Anyway, Diana died.
Yeah, yeah. So you just got me all off track. So the whole thing with her, with the baby not being there, they're trying to say Muhammad was over exaggerating or misheard. And then going back to the landmines, I mean, she literally in Angola in 1997 was walking through landmine fields on camera to kind of during her landmine campaign. I mean, dude, that's a lot of, it takes a lot of balls, if you will, to freaking. I wouldn't do that. Would you walk through a landmine field?
No.
Would you fight a
What?
Would you fight a landmine?
Would I fight a landmine?
Yeah.
Ah, fuck.
You fight everything else.
I'll kick the shit out of a landmine. Anyway, no, but yeah, if she's walking through the landmine fields, that's probably one of the most hardcore fucking things I've ever heard.
Yeah, I don't think arms dealers, big money, big military would enjoy something kind of downplaying that weapon that they produce.
I didn't know landmines were such a big deal until now. But I guess, no, I guess thinking about it, like, a war happens, landmines get put down, and then the war ends. I don't think anyone's going back to pick those up. So you're just landmines left everywhere.
I don't
kill innocent people, I guess.
Yeah, I'm sure that you think there might be even sea mines left in the freaking oceans from World War II, for all we know.
Oh, there actually is. There's a lot of them, actually.
Yeah, so I guess your cruise ship's got to have good sonar. That would suck.
How deep do sea mines go?
I don't know. I mean, they have to take out ships that are floating in the ocean.
Fuck. Oh, God. To be killed by a sea mine in 2025, I would be livid.
Yeah, it would suck ass. So, now, who would call this attack on the princess? You could say MI6 would take orders from the royal family, right? They probably would.
Yeah, of course.
Prince Philip could have called it. They're already divorced. She's gonna go date this guy, but she still has some kind of royal-esque. She's, the mother of Charles' kid, right?
Is it Charles' kid?
Yeah. She was the mother of William and Harry, Charles III kid. So, they're already divorced. Why would they take her out now? Why do you think they go on and just say, fuck this, kill her? They're already getting a divorce. It's already out in the public eye that she's no longer wanting to be part of this British throne.
Maybe she knew some things she shouldn't have. That only pertain to the royals. And
I'm assuming she knew. Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say her trying to back away from the family a bit made them a little nervous.
Yeah. And obviously she's someone who's a rebel, like we said before, more like a loose cannon. I think that would kind of scare, like you're like scare them. would she say something if she knew like what they've done? I'm sure they do a lot of stuff that would be for us considered horrible behind the scenes. That's what I would feel. So she's known to call out people, landmine companies and stuff. Like, why not call them out? I feel like this is more of a, you know, control over her. We can't have her as a loose end. We don't want this around. You're gonna have her. Her kid is gonna be obviously Harry and William's half brother or half sister. We don't want her kid half, would be half Muslim Egyptian associated with the royal family. There's gonna that's always gonna be forever.
And if they're just a half sibling, would that put them in line for the throne at all?
No, because I don't think so because she would be. It's on her side, not the royal family side, because she's married into the royal family. So I'm assuming they'd have nothing to do with in line for anything. So there's that. But we also have the fact that prior to her being with Dodie, right, she was in a relationship or began a relationship with James Hewitt, who was their family's former riding instructor, right? So they get together before she's with Dodie in like 86. The same year, Charles resumes his relationship with his former girlfriend, Camilla, and they're kind of already starting to separate, right? But the big thing that comes around is that they believe Harry's father was Hewitt, James Hewitt. And a lot of people are saying this based on his physical similarities with Hewitt. Obviously, Hewitt's going to deny this, and Harry was born 2 years before Hewitt and Diana began their affair, but how long was he a riding instructor? You know what I mean? That this is just publicly their affair started in 86. He's born in 84, but you never know. What was he teaching her how to ride?
Oh, don't be crass.
Oh, I didn't do that.
How dare you?
But for real, like, could this also be an issue here? They find this out.
It just seems like it's all just loose ends they're trying to tie up.
And she's like the biggest one, right? So you're gonna try to get rid of her to stop a lot of these other loose ends, because then it's like cutting it off where they're all together and all the loose ends go at once.
She's the main one.
She's the main one. Big one.
But they still had to do an investigation.
Oh, yeah.
They did, what was it called? Operation Paget. And they launched it in 2004, I believe. And they, examined different theories around, what's going on with it. And what was it? They had 14 different investigators, interviewed 300 witnesses, gathered over 600 pieces of evidence, and reviewed prior French inquiries. They checked out allegations ranging from royal involvement and MI6 surveillance, the claims that she was pregnant, and there was they ended up coming up with like an 800 something plus page report that they ended up releasing in 2006, but all it did was circle back to saying the driver was hammered.
Yep, that's all they're gonna say. And
Yeah.
I'll tell you this: who did the investigation? Government, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'll put it this way: if the government did it, what are they gonna go back to? They're gonna tattle on themselves. It's gonna be the original story. If you killed someone and then you were the prosecutor, how would you handle it?
I would be so innocent.
Yeah, there would be absolutely no evidence that proved that you're guilty, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You would never bring any evidence in there that proved you're guilty because you're prosecuting yourself. Who in their right mind would prosecute themselves and then prove they did it?
It's like, oh shit, it was me. Damn, I'm good. No.
Every single thing where you're gonna sit, because that's what I love. Oh, they investigated. The government investigated it, and it's not true. Well, we're saying the government did it. The government in no way is gonna investigate themselves and then come back and say, "Oh yeah, it was us. We're bad. Sorry.
Look,
We're so sorry."
we fouled up, guys. We're pretty sorry about that.
And and then the whole thing after the so you had the white Fiat, right, that hit the Mercedes somehow in the tunnel.
Mm-hmm.
Operation Paget tracked that guy, apparently James Anderson, and with a white Fiat. Now this guy, it's weird as shit. After they tracked him and everything, he was found dead in 2000, burned in his car.
Suicide?
Oh yeah, of course it was labeled, it was ruled suicide. You know, he was depressed. You know, he had a messy life. But come on, the one guy now that something went on. This Fiat was in the tunnel. Apparently, hit it when basically he was the only one on there that actually had some kind of, I guess, visual on what actually could have happened because the rest of the people were outside the tunnel. I don't think anyone was inside the tunnel. No one got a good view. The only thing people have talked about seeing is a flashbang. A big light, bright light going off from down the tunnel. But no one saw it besides this, I guess you could say, this white Fiat Uno with James driving it. He must have saw something. And it just so happens they start tracking this guy and they find him dead, burned in his car.
Flashbang is bold.
A bright light.
Public.
Multiple witnesses saw a bright light coming from the tunnel before the crash.
And I don't know. See, I guess they could have played it off because she was being quote unquote chased by paparazzi. They could have played it off as like flash from the cameras.
Yeah.
I mean, you need a pretty big ass camera, but yeah,
huge flash in the camera. So I mean, it can go both ways. My theory on this one, just the bright light, the white fucking Fiat Uno, they're flying. Was James Anderson paparazzi, or was he an operative? He's chasing them down there. Knows something's going on with this car that's chasing him. It's not paparazzi. They're flying through the tunnel. He's trying to get away. Somehow this thing is, I guess it's twin turboed. It's flying, keeping up with this Mercedes. They whip a flashbang in there, right? Guy has his, I guess, some kind of shades on, a perk from Call of Duty, whatever it is, and doesn't get flashed by it, but they get flashed in the car. He can't see well. James then rams the Mercedes with his white Fiat, slams him into the pole, and then gets the fuck out of there. Yeah. Later on, they find him. Maybe doesn't like what happened. He's distraught. He's into depression now. Maybe, could be linked to doing this. And when the Operation Paget catch up to him, he's like, "Oh man, listen, I don't know. I don't like that I did this. This is bullshit." And they fucking kill him. Because they don't want any fucking loose ends.
The theory's doable. I'll say that. It just feels like a movie. It feels like a movie, and I don't know. I don't know if I buy that or if the dude was just fucking hammered.
I don't know. See, here's the thing. He seems to be fine, right? But they get the driver, Henry Paul. But then blood test shows carbon monoxide levels up to 35% carbon hemoglobin. Now, some other reports came out later and said, "Oh, it was a misprint. It was actually 20.8%. Not as much as you think it is. Somehow it was overdone." But we'll say 35%. That amount of fucking, you'd be stumbling all over the place. It's like unconsciousness levels, like confusion, dizziness, like unconsciousness kicks in around 30 to 40%. You can die if you hit 50%. Like, there's a lot. Now, how did that much carbon, even if it was at 20%, how did 20.8 or whatever, 21%, how does that much carbon get in his body?
Didn't they say like it was because he was like a smoker?
So that's what they're trying to say. I mean, of course, they're going to have all this fucking how it happened. But I'll start with this. Normal levels are 2 to 3%. And for heavy smokers, they're saying it's about 5 to 10%. Right? So even if you do their 21%, it just seems it's over double. So they said, because the forensics experts in Operation Pageant, the people, hired by the people that killed them to go find out what happened, they say because he was a smoker, even though I just said it's like 5 to 10% if you're a heavy smoker. He smoked about 10 cigarettes, a half pack a day. He had a job at the Ritz, which involved time around vehicles. I mean, where CO exposure isn't unheard of, but it's, just some time around vehicles. But he's the head of security. I don't think he's spending as much time around vehicles as you think he is. And post-crash, he probably survived briefly about an hour and a half. And a faulty airbag in the Mercedes. Now they're going to like all this shit. Leaked CO from the engine compartment, which the CO comes from. I'm pretty sure the collision probably shut the vehicle down instantly. I don't think this thing's still running down there after hitting a pole at 65 miles an hour. I'm pretty sure that engine shut down, and CO's leaking, comes from the exhaust, unless you have some extreme exhaust leak, I guess, up front. All this is what caused his elevated carbon levels. So, I don't know. It seems, and then they could say, oh, there could be some contamination, but the French labs swore their samples were clean. And then Paul's behavior on the closed televisions, the cameras, they said he was walking steady, tying his shoes, didn't scream, acute CO poisoning.
The smoking thing annoyed me a bit because look, I used to smoke like a chimney and I've worked around cars for over a decade, and at no point have I crashed into a pole while driving home. It doesn't affect you like that. It just doesn't.
It doesn't?
No.
You don't just fucking collapse in the freaking seat of your car?
Yeah, just fucking hightail it into a telephone pole? No, absolutely not. It's not how that works.
I don't know. I don't see how his CO levels were so high unless he was poisoned. And why? Just have because if you have a chauffeur, it'd probably be randomly selected at the time of leaving, right?
Mm.
So I think I'll just have the head of security, have him do it. It's the princess. You can't have some low level guy at your hotel. Have Henry do it, and then they can sit there and they can poison him. The MI6 could poison him, and then he goes out. He's already all messed up. He's trying to get away from this freaking MI6 agent that's following him in a white Fiat. And they're like, oh man, this guy is fucking good. I guess he has 3 times the legal limit in his body. And he's got carbon in there, and he's still driving straight. So that's when they fucking hit him with the flashbang, finish him off, and slam him into a pole.
Yeah, the hitman didn't take into account that Henry was a solid fucking guy. Nothing phased Henry.
Yeah,
He had to take him out the old-fashioned way.
Yeah. Damn, this guy's good. He's fucking drunk out of his fucking mind. He's got carbon poisoning, and this guy is still driving straight. Let's finish it off. Let's chase him down.
Yeah, Henry fucking partied, bro. Oh.
Oh man, yeah. You go back and you see that again. this Operation Pageant, MI6, they keep saying no involvement. All these inquiries and everything else, there's no role. There was the crash resulted from Henry's high levels of alcohol in his body, him speeding, and the paparazzi pursuing him. Now, wouldn't the paparazzi so even if this paparazzi person wasn't a MI6 and nothing to do with anything, if someone is chasing down the princess, I just don't understand why you don't stop that car. And then if something happens where the person literally dies in the tunnel where this paparazzi person was following them, you don't go looking for him.
Hey, you don't just leave it at that. Like, oh, she died. Well, that's the end of our bad day. Like, no, you go after the fucking guy.
Even here, like I swear, if here someone was drunk out of their mind, not even anyone knew, just someone was drunk out of their mind, they're driving through the Lincoln Tunnel, a Fiat swipes them, they hit a pole and die. Even if both people were not known to anyone, that person that swiped them and left would be tracked down immediately.
And filmed, yes.
And filmed. There is no way they're just going to leave. And they just let this person leave. And it's literally a big figure in the UK government. No sense to me at all. None.
Yeah, this whole thing just doesn't... I don't know. I wanted to be like skeptic on it, but it's very hard to be, because it doesn't make any sense. Someone that famous dies, and you don't even look for the other car. I mean, they're in a tunnel. They can only go in two different directions. Take a pick and go for it. Like,
pretty much. So if MI6 really didn't have anything, so let's say Paget, they come out and and it's right, MI6 had nothing to do with it. The Operation Paget's report. What if the bodyguard, the only guy who survived the wreck, because he's the only guy wearing a seatbelt for some reason, had ties militarily? Because a lot of bodyguards are ex-military usually, right? Well, depending, mall security now. But, someone like this, of this stature, you would think would have some kind of military training. Remember, she's anti-landmine. Big anti-landmine. And when you get involved with going against the military-industrial complex, usually there's a lot of money to be made and lost in that sector, right? Mm. So when you're out here saying no more landmines and walking through landmine fields and making them look bad in a way, I feel like someone from that company that makes those landmines, that's making a shit ton of money off either the government in the UK or anywhere they're selling them to, would take notice and not be happy about this. So what if our buddy over here who just happened to survive, he's the one that caused this incident?
Which I'm now looking into him, and he was a former British Army paratrooper turned private security.
Okay, so right there, Trevor Rees-Jones, former military, right? They tell this guy, listen, she's gonna fucking cost us a shit ton of money. We're not going to be able to sell these landmines anymore. God only knows what else she's going to try to get banned. She's obviously a huge activist when it comes to weapons that do extreme bodily harm and are not as humane as other ways of dying. We need to take her out. The people love her. Because they did, right? Everyone loved her.
Yes.
She's obviously got a lot of persuasion and a lot of pull when it comes to the public. They're not going to want us to they're not going to want us to use mines anymore. They're not going to want us to use certain weapons, and it could go on and on. Who knows where she can take this? You got to do something. She's got to be silenced. She's got to be gone. I mean, he got some balls to, to be in the seatbelt and say, "Fuck, I'm gonna hit this, but I'm gonna wear my seatbelt and hopefully I survive this." But I feel like someone trained in the military would probably take that risk.
And
Maybe he
what?
had the flashbang on him.
Yeah. And I don't know. I think the car was tampered with because you mean to tell me he's the only one wearing a seatbelt? No one else thought to just pop it on.
They're
And
driving. He puts his seatbelt on. They're like, "Why are you putting your seatbelt on?" And he pulls out a flashbang. Yeah. Why wouldn't they have their seatbelts on? What happens if they actually did attempt to put their seatbelt on, but they didn't stay latched?
yeah, I was gonna say, what if the seatbelts were tampered? Nothing would lock into place, and they're like, "Well, fuck," and then a flashbang goes off.
Or if they were, yeah, they were in, but as soon as the accident happened, they just popped off.
Mm-hmm.
You know, what I mean, they're down in the thing, but they didn't lock. So they think their seatbelt's on. The accident happens. The seatbelt just comes right off. They hit the pole. They're all just slammed into the front of the car. He still has his seatbelt on. He knows where he's going to sit. And he survives it. And since he was in the accident, no one looks at him. Like, why would he try to kill himself?
Yeah. Plus, they asked him, what had happened, and the memory he has of the crash is spotty. So, which is awfully convenient if you're the one that caused it.
No, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what happened.
Uh,
I'm not sure. I'm not quite sure.
Oh, he
So,
had to get his face was crushed, requiring extensive reconstructive surgery using over 150 titanium plates. And he spent 10 days in a coma.
oh man, he did take one for the team then, huh?
Good lord, boy, is he a team player.
Or did he fake all that?
Yeah, these are just, I don't know. This
Is there any,
is, I would watch this movie.
is there any type of pictures of him post surgery or anything like that where he actually looks like he's
I don't
taking a
believe
hit?
so. I don't believe so. Let me see.
No.
Where's AI pops up. Had to rebuild his face. He looks a bit worse for wear, but not as bad as if you need that much reconstructive surgery.
So you're saying they did a really good job for the time on fixing his face.
For the 90s, yeah, they did a phenomenal job.
Better than you think they could have.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Settle it right there. So maybe it had nothing to do with, the whole Muhammad, Fayed, and Dodi, his side of the family and the kid. As much as Muhammad has pushed that MI6 was behind it, maybe it was more of a military involvement with our boy here. But remember, Princess Diana before wrote in like 1995, she wrote in like a book or something that she was afraid that Prince Philip was going to kill her or have her taken out. And it would be a car accident, brake failure or otherwise, to eliminate her. She's mentioned this in a letter 2 years before she was killed.
What would she know?
They're trying to say it was just paranoia and, that she was scared because she was leaving, Charles and the whole thing. She must have been paranoid. But wouldn't she have to be... I mean, she walks through landmine fields. She goes and hangs out with patients of, like, at the time, the most terrifying disease we know. HIV or AIDS. Now, all of a sudden, she's just terrified of and paranoid that she's going to get killed. She seems way too badass, for lack of a better term, for her to be just paranoid about this and scared.
No, she's way too hardcore for that shit.
To me, it seems like that. So, as much as I love the whole military theory, that it was more of the military industrial complex side wanting her dead and not the royal family, It just always seems to take me back to the royal family being more plausible. And to me, the most possible answer. I don't see her just slamming into a pole with her driver drunk out of his mind and freaking with carbon monoxide poisoning and some white Fiat swerving by and clipping them and all this shit. I don't see it. I just keep going back to MI6 involvement. That's what it seems like to me.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm sure I am. I don't know shit about the UK. Does the royal family hold any real power?
See, I feel like it's just their parliament and their elected, like the prime minister and stuff. I don't know if the royal family hold. I'm sure they have persuasion and stuff like that. But the laws and stuff are done through like a parliament, kind of like how we have here with like Congress and Senate.
Because that makes me wonder, like, would they have any pull with MI6? Like, real pull?
Oh, that kind of thing, yeah. I 100% believe the royal family would have pull like that with that kind of a thing. Like, lawmaking and stuff is done by their, parliament, but they can also have pull in that behind the scenes anyway, I think. On paper, I should say, they don't have all this power. They're more of a figurehead. But behind the scenes, I 100% believe the royal family can have anything done they wanted.
Yeah, I guess the royal bloodline would have gone back so far that they would have, their hands in a little bit of everything.
Yeah, 100%. I think so, too. So, going back to MI6, I have a little clip of a guy who is in the British military, and apparently an MI6 operative told his wife they set the whole thing up. And he goes into it a little bit, and I think you guys should hear this if you haven't heard it. It's pretty interesting to hear. So here you go. Let's take a listen.
Shocking allegations about Princess Diana's death. Authorities now reviewing the new and sensational claim that she was actually murdered by the British government. ABC's chief legal affairs anchor here with more on that, Dan Abrams. And Dan, talk about a conspiracy theory.
Oh, yeah. This may be the most thoroughly investigated car crash ever. But when you're talking about the death of Princess Diana, it seems some will never accept the official finding. After all, attributing her death to negligence, mistakes, bad behavior isn't nearly as tantalizing as a claim of murder. It seemed like a terrible accident and was officially ruled just that. An accident caused by, among other things, the gross negligence of driver Henri Paul. But now Scotland Yard is looking into a new claim that Princess Diana and her boyfriend Dodi Fayed were actually murdered by British Special Forces 16 years ago this month.
Whenever you bring in stories about Special Forces personnel, then immediately you've got the prospect of a red-hot story.
The allegation came in the form of a letter during a court-martial of Sergeant Danny Nightingale, a British Special Air Service sniper convicted of illegal gun possession. The letter alleged that a fellow Special Ops soldier told his wife their unit orchestrated the princess's death and cover-up.
They had a team of people over there on motorbikes designing, planning the whole operation, waiting with cars, etc. So the car would be driven down at speed, driven by motorbikes to get them at high speed, driven into the tunnel, and the strobe light then would be used to disorientate Henri Paul, so he'd lose control of the car.
A new book said to be published next week by author Alan Power also claims the British government had Diana killed because they saw her as a threat.
The security services and the monarchy, the establishment realized there's a big danger looming.
Power alleges the princess was pregnant and planning on marrying Fayed and possibly preparing to leak embarrassing information about the prince. The problem? In 2008, after 6 months of reviewing every piece of evidence during a formal inquest into Diana's death, no evidence was found that she was pregnant or engaged or, of course, murdered.
There was no conspiracy to murder any occupants of that car.
Buckingham Palace has not commented on the allegations. And Scotland Yard is choosing its words carefully, saying that this is not a reinvestigation, but that they are just scoping the new allegation. Now, let's be clear. This accusatory letter came from the estranged parents of the wife of a former intelligence operative. Talk about hearsay upon hearsay upon hearsay. But when it comes out just as a new book, saying the same thing emerges, Scotland Yard has to at least look into it. And it's just too good for us not to discuss.
I guess, but can you imagine the kind of conspiracy this would have had
Oh,
to
and
be
the
to
number
pull
of
all of
people
this off?
who would have had to be involved and to have not said anything for all this time is absurd.
But what does Scotland Yard really do? As you say, they're not calling it an investigation. They're saying they're just going to look at the scope of all this. What do they do?
Well, publicly and privately, they're doing two different things. Publicly, they have to say, look, we are going to examine this. They're being very careful about what they say. Privately, I'm sure that they are rolling their eyes and saying, another one of these. We got
at some point they say we looked at it.
Yeah,
that's it.
we got to deal with this, but at least they can say that this was looked into without using the word reinvestigating.
The shocking allegations about Princess Diana.
Yeah. So again, they're going to try to say that there's a lot of people that needed to be involved, and it's insane. It's impossible. But when you have, I don't know, why would this random military guy come out and say that, oh yeah, I was serving with someone else and they told my wife all this stuff?
And what embarrassing information could she possibly have to leak? I don't understand how bad it could have been.
And I'll get back into, like I said before. Of course, they're gonna quote unquote reinvestigate, but if you're involved with it, then obviously you're not gonna blame yourself. You're not gonna come out and say we did it. But of course, the news is always quick to say, "Oh, nah, there's nothing to see here. Obviously, she wasn't murdered, and that's it. Nothing else." Because they're not going to want to blame themselves. And the new media is never going to go against the government. We found it out with our media over here, with Doge, with all the money we were sending to mainstream media to make them left swaying. They're just the same over there. It's going to be the same stuff. And then the Buckingham Palace has no comment. They don't want to say a word.
Yeah, they were awfully silent.
Yeah, just, I'm not going to say a word. That's right. But for someone to come out and say that, it just seems odd that some random, and they always discredit him. Oh, it's hearsay, some guy, random fuck. There's no reason for him to do anything or come out and say anything. Is he just mad at everyone? He's just mad at the British government. He's going to make up a story. And how many they talk about? Oh, we need all these people need to keep their mouths quiet. Yeah, it's their fucking job. MI6's job is to keep their mouths quiet. No one else was involved. It wasn't like 1,000 fucking citizens were involved inside the tunnel. No one was in there besides this random white Fiat and the 4 people in that car. 3 of them died, and then the bodyguard, survives it, but he doesn't remember shit from it. So if he wasn't involved, I mean, he had to, obviously, if his face was reconstructed, he's not going to remember much. He probably had a concussion.
He was in a coma for 10 days.
He was in a coma for 10 days. So he's not going to remember much. So how many people really needed to quote unquote, cover up? Because you just don't tell the fucking coroner, or you don't tell the forensic scientists that are searching the body. You don't tell them shit. They hit a fucking pole. You make it so they hit the pole, and there's no gunshots. It's a car accident. It looks like a car accident because it was. But you make it a car accident. They're not amateurs. This isn't some nonsense. It's professionals. They're going to make it look like an accident. It's what they do.
They do this shit every single day. They know what they're doing.
Yeah. So, for Dan Abrams going about hearsay and all that, it doesn't prove anything to me that's not what happened. To me, it's the guy coming out and saying, "Listen, I know a guy. We're in the military. They set it up. to kill her. A strobe, disorient the guy, hit a pole, done. And it was successful.
Middle of the day, middle of the city. Just
Right through
wait.
the tunnel.
Just wait till they get in the tunnel, handle business, and drive away.
And it's so convenient that it was in a tunnel, right? So there was no way to see it.
No cameras in a tunnel.
No cameras in the tunnel. Probably not. I guess not. They didn't exist in there. No one around to see it because they're all outside the tunnel. No one's going to stand inside the tunnel and worry about getting hit by a fucking car. It's just so convenient. That's where it happened. And I saw a picture of the car. The whole thing with him surviving for 90 minutes and the CO2 from the engine inside the tunnel. The engine was like non-existent after the collision. It was not running anymore. It was not creating any more CO. There's no...
Yeah, the car could not have been any more turned off at that point.
Yes, it was not. The engine's not burning fuel anymore. It is not creating any type of pollution in that tunnel. It stopped. And I'm sure people weren't just driving through the tunnel after this car. That tunnel was shut down immediately. No one threw it. No way to get extra carbon built up in there. Carbon and case. It's high carbon monoxide levels detected in his blood. To me, point 0.2 poisoning. Who knows if he was even drunk? They're saying he was drunk. If they got the quote unquote got the carbon monoxide level wrong to begin with because they fucked up, could they have fucked up just saying what the blood alcohol level was? At that point, you fuck that up, you can fuck up anything. So I just don't believe you just sit back and say, well, I don't believe any of the fucking test results from any of the blood work.
Yeah, if it's a government hit job, they could put whatever numbers they want on that paper. They don't give a fuck.
Here, yeah, just say whatever, and then they can just cover it up with the sake of public security. You don't want it getting out that the government kills people. So, to say it and to say I know, in the interest of keeping everyone calm, in the interest of not causing a mass panic, in the interest of, again, public security, put down that he was drunk and be done with it.
It's just that simple, folks. It's just that simple.
It's just that simple. This conspiracy is that simple. Other ones are very complex. This one is, to me, cut and dry. Hit job, out the window. See you later. That's what it is.
Just handling business in a fucking tunnel in France.
Yeah. And Josh was going to go into this with a skeptic mind, and he couldn't even do it because he knew the truth.
I lasted 2 minutes of being a skeptic.
He tried to be a skeptic about it. The evidence was right in front of his face. There's no way to look around it. It's too big. He gave in. It's over. He's a true believer.
Nailed it.
Case closed. Put a stamp on it.
I feel like this was an easy one, though. Like, you any idiot could see that this wasn't an accident.
Any idiot.
Any idiot. Come on.
Those news reporters are idiots, right?
Dumb as shit.
Dumb. Exactly.
But we're not here making fun. We recognize it was a tragedy. We really do.
Oh, it was a huge tragedy, but one that should have never have happened.
No.
So, conspiracy, case closed. Not an accident.
Debunked.
Debunked. The accident is debunked. Well, debunked in a sense that it wasn't an accident. But what if we look at it from this angle? Maybe the government isn't lying and they think it was just an accident. But it wasn't, because you know how much I like aliens. And before we go sigh, this is the only explanation I have in where a Fiat Uno could keep up with a Mercedes S280, okay? This is why I'm bringing this up. It wasn't a Fiat Uno. It was a UFO with cloaking. Let's start with that. Okay.
Show your work. Show your work.
You show me alien work. Okay? It's alien stuff. It's what they do. They do stuff. So, what if this Fiat Uno going after, this S280. Remember, people said they saw a flash of light. What if that flash of light was the abduction? And, obviously aliens can manipulate time, right? Probably, right? Space-time. That's how they travel around so well. So they didn't, it didn't happen. Like, to them, it was a split second for bystanders. But for the aliens, they took them up to the ship. They abducted them. They did whatever aliens do, probing, whatever. No baby, because maybe, the aliens were like, we need something, a human that's, it might not be the royal bloodline, but it was someone that was good enough to be part of the royal family. So, maybe the child was taken for alien stuff, whatever they do. And then they were just dumped back in the car. It was a split second Earth time, but this was a not long time in a spaceship. And then when you get dumped back in the car, they're disoriented. After alien testing, that's why Harry had freaking, or what is his name? Paul had carbon monoxide poisoning, whatever experiments they do. I don't know what aliens do. And they were disoriented from being abducted. They get back in the car and boom, they hit the pole. Done. They die. Somehow the bodyguard's like, oh yeah, I just had the whereabouts to put a seatbelt back on. And then the freaking Fiat, because it's a UFO and cloaking, goes back out the tunnel. No one chases it because it just disappears because it's a fucking UFO. It all makes sense.
I'm sure that it does. But for an alien to cloak itself as the slowest car in history, I don't know why it annoys me, but it does.
Well, they just saw that there's like so many of these shit boxes around, and they're like, oh yeah, just make it look like a white Fiat, and it'll blend in, and then we'll follow them, and do alien shit.
Do alien? You know what? You sold me.
See, I think it makes perfect sense.
Yeah, it was aliens. They took the baby. That's why they couldn't find one.
Yep.
And it disappeared in a flash of light.
Yep, that's because when people get abducted, they always mention bright light, right?
And you could ask the bodyguard about the aliens, but he was in a coma for 10 days. And according to his statement, everything's a little spotty.
Yeah.
Convenient.
Exactly. The aliens messed with him. Could have been Men in Black shit with the boom, hit him with the, short-term memory loss.
Yeah. Or just a car accident.
No, there's no way this is just an accident. If MI6 wasn't involved, it was aliens. There's no other way around.
You heard it here first, folks.
It was an alien abduction.
Aliens abducted the unborn child of Princess Diana.
Yeah.
You heard it here first. It's been solved.
And, we know a thing or two about, probing's gone wrong. Like in the Die Out Loud Pass episode or whatever. So, it could be another probing gone wrong.
Why do aliens probe? What are they looking for?
I don't know. We have to ask them. Maybe we'll have to get abducted and find out.
I don't know if I want to know that bad.
And the problem is, see, again, like I ask our listeners all the time, you have to drink your Ovaltine because then you're chocked full of vitamins and minerals. And when you're chock full of vitamins and minerals, you're stronger. And the aliens don't want to mess with you. So if you don't want to deal with a probing gone wrong, please be sure to drink your Ovaltine.
That's a good point. Think about it. An alien lands, and there's two guys standing there. One's drinking a dusty beer, and the other's drinking a tall, cool glass of Ovaltine. Or you could enjoy it warm. Is the alien going to abduct the dusty drunk or the buff dude drinking Ovaltine?
He's going to go after the drunk, obviously.
That's
easier.
Right. Easy pickings.
Easy pickings.
Doesn't want to get his ass kicked by a man chugging a tall glass of Ovaltine.
Yeah. And another person who needs to learn how to drink their Ovaltine is Steve, our Call of Duty expert. Because I think he got his mic. But what do you think?
I don't know if I mentioned this last time, but I know for a fact that the Amazon box is torn open. The bubble wrap is hanging out askew, and the
It's
mic
askew.
it's just peeking out, untouched.
So he opened the box to see if the mic was in there, but you don't think he actually tried to make sure it works?
No.
No. All right. So we need. So are we going to do that Call of Duty episode?
Well, if our expert gets his head out of his ass and the mic out of the box, perhaps we will.
We will one day.
One day. Not
Okay.
today, but one day.
Not today. No. So you heard it here first. It might have been an alien abduction, and I explained everything that makes sense. The only way a Fiat would keep up with that Mercedes, a UFO and cloaking, because they see a bunch of Fiat Unos around or ship boxes. Anyone can just buy them and find them anywhere. You could probably just get them for free. There's so many of them. They're like, oh, that's a car. We'll just use that because it'll blend in. No one will know. Shot in the tunnel after him. Flash a light. That was the abduction. Boom, to the mothership. Probing gone wrong. They wanted some kind of royal bloodline baby. They find this, it's close enough, almost close enough. So they abduct the kid. They throw they didn't try to kill him. I don't think it was a trying to kill the people. They just hit him with the mind control. It's the only time they can get a hold of these people while they're not being watched because they're in the tunnel. Or not the mind control, the short-term memory loss. They get put back in the car. The driver's disoriented still from the whole ordeal. He can't control his car. He's going too fast. Hits the pole. Kills them all. But because the bodyguard, he's trained. He was all in his mind, his whereabouts and everything. He knew to put his seatbelt on. And then the UFO fucked off into space.
It's pretty cut and dry, folks. I think. Pretty cut and dry. That's what happened. I'm convinced.
If someone can prove to me that there wasn't aliens there, I would gladly accept that. But you have to give me concrete proof there was no aliens.
I don't think there's a single person on Earth that could prove otherwise.
No, there isn't.
Mm-mm.
And this is what happened.
Damn. You're good.
I know. I solved it.
That's mystery solved.
Yep. So, again, sorry, there's no cryptids for Josh to fight, but maybe soon we'll drop a cryptid in there. We're still thinking. We're still looking around. We have a bunch of options we can do for our next episode. But if you guys like Josh fighting cryptids, let us know. And yeah, so MI6 are aliens, probably aliens, and we'll see you all guys next week. Whenever we decide to do a cryptid or whatever. And, man, we're signing off.
Bye.